Welcome you and all to another episode of the Global Latino Factor Podcast, where we talk about Latino everything. I am your host, Crispin Valentin. Make sure you subscribe to the channel right now if you have not subscribed yet. Why? You have nothing to lose and so much to gain. This amazing content, amazing stories. Today we are doing a solo episode. But before we get into today's topic, we want to one of our clips that very well got a lot of attention is the one about Sakyu. And I'm going to go ahead and break down a little bit of the curiosity that you had in regards to the comment asking where it actually comes from and if it's a California thing. So let's answer your quick question. When you think of sock, the meaning means to punch or hit somebody, or maybe, just an old timer word, but like really old. We're talking about like 1700 type old word. So it's not a new word. So nobody knows exactly the origin itself, where it came from. Some historians think it's like a play on word, kind of like what we do when we say like bop or smack, something like that. But nobody really pinpoints a date. And it matches, the action of whatever the word is. So Sakyu. Others trace the word and a version of it back to British slang from the late 1600s, brought over by immigrants of all people, of course. And so you use sake, guess what? Immigrant. Another word, another phrase people use that people might not know. It's been recorded back in 1866 all the way to the Civil War, phrases that were already used. Also, a long time ago, again, that's almost 150 years ago. Even Mark Twain used it in his book in 1889, and the Connecticut Yankee and King Arthur's Court, that word itself, socket, was also used. So again, nobody really knows. People were using it already to argue about wages, even on that book. So can nobody pinpoint exactly what it is? It's not an actual California word. It made more pop culture. Many years later, Aretha Franklin used it on Respect in 1967, and Rowan and Martin Laugh In, the TV show that ran from 1968 to 1963, where socket became a national catchphrase. Everybody was using it from coast to coast. So that's when it kind of sort of made its mainstream appearance. So no, it's not a California thing. I know a lot of California folks use it, and it's more of a old American, honestly, kind of British slang that just got passed on down, and we still kind of use it still to this day. Well, not so many more. Maybe people for the 1900s, not the 2000s, use it more these days. But the word itself, shout out to the people that interacted with the phrase itself, and it's over like 200K views, and it just keeps going. Amazing people were just getting into it. But enough of that. Let's get to today's real topic. Today, we're going to be deep dive into something that is very special. We're going to talk about Mexico's UNESCO's World Heritage Sites, because Mexico is not just rich in culture, it's officially recognized by the entire world. And let's get into it. Mexico has 36 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. That's 36 more than any other country in the Americas. 28 of them are in the cultural sites. 6 of them are in the natural one, and 2 are considered both. Mexico isn't just a heavyweight in its history, it's a heavyweight for its landscape too. But before that, let's walk through exactly what does that mean. What does it actually mean to be part of the UNESCO? Is it just like a sticker that you throw in a brochure for tourists? No. UNESCO stands for the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization. Back in 1972, they created the World Heritage Convention, built on one simple idea. Some places matter to everybody, not just the country they happen to sit on. To make the list, You have to have what's called the outstanding universal value. In plain terms, this place needs to be exceptional beyond its borders and something that belongs to the entire world, the entire civilization, not just one country. And getting that title isn't just symbolic, it usually comes with real protection, funding for repairs, and expert support. And it's sometimes in case of its risk, but that cuts both ways. The site itself can decline and can be neglected, and the conflicts overall in the environment and damage. UNESCO can move into what's called the list of World Heritage in danger. Mexico actually has one site sitting right there right now. Currently, the islands and protected areas of the Gulf of California was added because La Vaquita, that's the world's smallest porpoise, is nearly extinct. So this title isn't just a trophy, it's an ongoing promise to protect what's already still standing. Mexico joined the World Heritage Convention in 1984. Its first 6 sites made it into the list in 1987 at the UNESCO's meeting in Paris. And the newest edition came in 2025, just a year ago. UNESCO meeting in Paris, and the newest edition came in 2025, the Huitzarisky route through a sacred site of the Wirikuca, a pilgrimage still practiced today by the Huichol people. So we're talking about things that happened over decades and still to this day is still recognized by Mexico, and things that we already knew about ourselves. Now people are getting to see it. Now, let's walk through 5 of the most remarkable ones that Mexico has. Remember, there's 36. Chichén Itzá, first stop, the Yucatan Peninsula. Chichén Itzá is the ancient Maya city made this list into the UNESCO in 1888, and in 2007 also became one of the newest 7 wonders of the world. At the center of the city stands El Castillo, the temple of Kukulkan, and the pyramid is not just a pretty structure, it's a calendar built out of stone. Each of the stairs is 91 steps, and the platform itself to the top is 365. That's one for every day of the year. Here's the part that gives people chills. Twice a year, during the spring and fall equinox, the setting sun throws a row of shadows down the northern staircase, and they connect to a carved snake head at the bottom for a few minutes. It looks like there's a feathered serpent crawling down the pyramid. That is Kukulkan, the feathered serpent appearing to descend into earth. Thousands of people show up every single year just to witness this amazing thing that happens here. And at the base, if you clap your hands, it makes the right sound. It kind of chirps a little bit, so it sounds like quetzal, which is the bird the Mayan considers sacred. So a lot of research think that this was done in purpose. It wasn't like an accident. They actually designed it that way. Researchers say that. You can't climb El Castillo anymore, by the way. Years of foot traffic wore down the ancient steps, so now it's closed off. And people just are not able to climb to protect it for future generations. The historical center of Mexico City and Xochimilco is next, the heart of the country. The historical center of Mexico paired with Xochimilco both made the list together in 1987. The site is really the story of 2 civilizations stacked on top of each other. Underneath Mexico City's colonial cathedral, the largest one in the continent, remain the city of Tenochtitlan, the Aztec capital, and discovery happened almost by accident back in 1978 when electricians, workers digging into the street hit a huge an 8-ton stone disc, and it turned out to be a carving of Coyohuaque, the Aztec moon goddess, and it led archaeologists to hit a temple mayor. That's the main temple of the entire Aztec empire buried in ruins and in the modern city. Then you have Xochimilco. Xochimilco is about 28 kilometers south. It's a network of canals, floating gardens, and chinampas that were hand built by the Aztecs before the Spaniards arrived. These just by itself are just the ruins that still working till this day. There are farmlands used today. Some Mexican cities best chefs still use the produce from these floating gardens, chinampas. And the wild part is that Mexico City itself was built on top of a lake. Many you might not know, the Aztec built the entire city on water connected by these canales in Xochimilco. And once again, the last piece that is still the origin of the water-based world that we have. It's like the water world. Now we move into Tenochtitlan. By the way, I've been there before. Tenochtitlan was added to the list in 1987. Some of the largest pyramids in the world. And something surprising that you might not know is that nobody really knows who actually built the pyramids. Tenochtitlan were there before the Aztecs got there. So the Aztecs found it before they found their city. They were abandoned for centuries. Now we go to Tenochtitlan. It was added to the list in 1987, home of some of the largest pyramids on earth. And here's the part that surprises people every single time. Nobody actually knows who built Tenochtitlan. By the time that the Aztecs found the city, it had already been abandoned for centuries. Teotihuacan, the Aztec word meaning roughly the place where the gods were created. The place where the gods were created. The people who actually built it, we don't know what kind of language they talk, who they were, where they came from, what they spoke. We just know that they had abandoned the pyramids years before. At the center stands the Pyramid of the Sun, the third largest pyramid in the world, built around the year 200, and it stretches 225 meters across and raises 75 meters high. And they build it without any metal tools, without any wheels, without any kind of packed animals. In 1971, an archaeologist found a hidden passage under the pyramid leading down to a cave, and almost like a meteor underground type of thing. For years, people assumed that it was just a natural lava tube. No, it was actually, researchers believe that it led a religious meaning, possibly a doorway to the underworld. Ooh. At its peak, Tenochtitlan might have held over 100,000 people, making it one of the largest sites on earth, and possibly at the time bigger than ancient Rome at the same era. And yet, long before the Aztecs even existed, the city was already empty, leaving behind a mysterious archaeological part, and still archaeologists still trying to figure out where it came from. Palenque. Now we head over to the jungle of Chiapas and the ruins of Palenque. On the list since 1987, Palenque isn't just the biggest Maya city out there. It's smaller than Tika, and it's smaller than Chichén Itzá. But when it comes to artwork, when it comes to carving, when it comes to sculptures itself, the detail is beyond it. Archaeologists still call it one of the most beautiful things that there is. And not only that, but 10% still hasn't been discovered. Most of Palenque is still sitting under the jungle and waiting to be found. So there's still a lot more. The city's gold age came under the king named Chichén Pakal the Great, who ruled nearly 70 years and lived to be about 10. In 1952, archaeologists made one of the biggest discovery in Mayan history. Pakal's tomb, hidden inside the temple of the inscription. And they opened it, the stone coffin, he was covered with a mask made of over 200 individual carved pieces of jade. At that time, it was one of the richest, best preserved royal burials ever found in the Americas. The temple inscriptions earned the name, and for a reason. It holds the longest piece of Mayan written ever found, over 600 carved symbol recordings in the city royal history. And now we move to the historical town of Guanajuato and the adjacent mines. The last stop, we go north into the mountains of Guanajuato, added to the list in 1988. This one has a different kind of story, not of ancient civilization, but colonial fortune. Founded by the Spaniards in the early 1500s, Guanajuato became the world's top silver producing region by the 1700s. At its peak, one single mine, La Valenciana, produced roughly 2/3 of the silver in the entire world. Stunning old churches, colorful buildings stacked up in the hillside. It was amazing to see. And there's a part that most people ask about: the mummies. The city's mineral rich soil, dry air, and elevation naturally mummifies some of the bodies buried locally in the cemeteries. During the 1800s and 1900s, a lot of them were discovered at the Museo de las Momias, the Mummy Museum. Only about 1 to 100 bodies were mummified naturally, which is exactly why it makes it so unusual that happened. Beyond the mummies, Guanajuato is also home to the Boca del Infierno, that is the mouth of hell, a mine that drops over 600 meters straight down. That is proof that a UNESCO site doesn't have to be some ancient, extraordinary something, but a 500-year-old silver mine that drops off is part of the legend itself that is included in this type of list. That is 5 sites, 5 completely different stories, and a feather serpent crawling down a pyramid, a moon goddess buried beneath a capital city, and a city built on the civilization that we don't really know and can identify, a king covering jaded face rested, and a jungle that is still undiscoverable and we don't know what exactly it is. And there's so much more, and that's just 5. Remember, there's 36 other ones. Talking about colonial reels, we're talking about monarch butterflies, we're talking about castles, all kinds of different things that we didn't cover because, again, pilgrimage routes, different things that still entails the history of Mexico in itself and how valuable we are in regards to the history and importance of Mexico. And the reason why I wanted to touch up on Mexico is because of the World Cup and how much excitement it was brought to the city, how much people were showcased, highlighted, and the amazing hospitality have that we've been knowing since we were little. At least I've been knowing that for a long time. So it's only homage to pay and talk about some of this, not only the people itself, but the amazing things that you can discover in Mexico. If you decide to take a trip within Mexico City itself, you have amazing things. They already made in the UNESCO list, and now you know what UNESCO is and what's the importance. It's something that's for the entire world, for us to remember throughout civilization and pass on. This was another episode of the Global Latino Factor Podcast. Remember to subscribe right now. You have nothing to lose, so much to gain. This amazing, truly remarkable solo episodes that we're putting out, bringing you some amazing stories, amazing things that we are continuing to do as a comunidad here in the entire world. Man, what if the podcast where one of these days becomes one of the UNESCO? What? Just kidding. Once again, remember to subscribe to the channel right now if you have not subscribed. Now is the time. The Global Latino Factor. Visit the website. Shop something for yourself, for your loved ones. We have different merchandise. And remember, we are just like you. We are people. We are the spice and flavor in this melting pot that it is the world. Till next time.